Sit back, relax, and take a ride with us on the GunBlog VarietyCast, episode 21. Welcome back to the GunBlog VarietyCast. I'm your host, Sean from NC GunBlog, and with me today is Adam from Guns, Cars, Tech Blog. How are you doing, Adam?
I think I'm getting used to the whole 4 hours of sleep thing. I also think that my IQ has probably dropped about 20 points.
That's unfortunate. Well, let's start with a tactical dog and fitness report. 38.2 dog walking miles last week, and I accidentally put the puppy-sized Jaws flying disc frisbee thing on my Amazon wish list, and my mother-in-law got it for me as a Christmas present. So instead of a full-size disc, I got a 7-inch.
The teeny tiny one.
Yeah. The dog doesn't care. She jumps and catches it out of the air. She doesn't care. It was 19 degrees this morning when I went outside, and I was bundled up.
Yeah. It was 4 degrees when I walked outside this morning, and it hurt to breathe.
Ooh.
It was bad. So yeah, me and Tactical Dog, we didn't go on very much of a walk this morning, nor did we go on, well, I say I didn't go on very much of a walk this evening. I was kind of a bad dog parent tonight. Right before the show, went to take Tactical Dog out for her midnight pee, and got out to the mailbox to go check the mail, and there's I don't know what kind of dog it was, but it probably outweighed her by 40 pounds on the other side of the street, and she took off after that dog. I have never seen, she is scared of everything, and she chased that dog down the street.
Oh, man.
Like a half a mile, and it's 20 degrees outside. I was just like, God. So the good news is, at night, when it's cold, your voice carries a lot. So I said, hey, do you want some dinner? And she turned around and ran right back to the house. But yeah, I was a bad dog parent because I took her outside and didn't have her on a leash.
Yeah,
we talked about that.
Bad.
That was bad.
So you listen to podcasts, obviously, because you're listening to this one. I've got another podcast you should be listening to. It's Reverend Ken Blanchard's Black Man with a Gun podcast.
Hi, this is Reverend Ken Blanchard, host and producer of the Black Man with a Gun podcast. Subscribe to my show so you can hear about gun rights, history, and old school wisdom from a man who's traveled the world, trained others, and protected people his entire life. Laugh with me, cry with me, do better than me. BlackManWithAGunShow.us for the audio. BlackManWithAGun.com for the blog. Shalom, baby.
Check it out. And now it's time for Blue Collar Prepping with that bratty kid sister of the gun blogosphere, Erin Paulette. Today, Erin's going to talk about light and fire. So Erin, what's going on with you this week?
Well, one of the neat things about being a prepper is that you can feel like an absolute rock star when you produce the right bit of equipment at the right moment. So case in point, yesterday I was at lunch with a friend when she discovered she had left her reading glasses in her car. So I reached into my pocket first aid kit and pulled out a Fresnel lens, which is a little plastic magnifying glass about the size of a credit card. And it allowed her to read the menu effectively because it has 3 times magnification. So not only did I save the day in that moment, but she's also a prepper, and I scored points by out-prepping her.
Oh, see, so now she's got to keep up with the Joneses.
Yeah, exactly. And so this lens is doubly useful because not only can it be used to magnify things, but it can also be used to start a fire using sunlight in the exact same way that little boys in elementary school would use a magnifying glass to set fire to leaves and burn ants. In fact, I have no less than 3 ways to start a fire on me right now. I've got the lens, I've got a chapstick-sized container of waterproof matches, and I've got a disposable lighter. And I highly encourage all preppers to carry at least a lighter, even if they don't smoke, because it is the most efficient way to start a fire. So, yes, it's all very well and good to know how to use a fire bow, fire drill, all these primitive methods because knowledge weighs nothing. But if you are reduced to using these methods, you're basically in the worst scenario possible. Something has gone just terribly, terribly wrong. You know, we're humans, we're tool users, carry tools.
Yeah, here's an important pro tip. None of those things actually work. In real circumstances where you really need a fire and you have to scrounge for parts and try to use those things, it isn't going to work. So carry a lighter or some waterproof matches and stop trying this Boy Scout crap.
So funny story, I was a smoker for about 7 years and I always had a lighter on me, right? Well, then I quit smoking. And then I found a need to have a lighter on me all the time. You know, because sometimes you would like your shoelaces would mess up, right? And you need to like burn the ends of the cord, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's good to have a flame source for things other than starting a survival fire. Maybe you need to light a birthday candle. Like you said, maybe you need to stop your shoelaces from fraying. Or maybe you want to play gentleman and light a lady's cigarette. Now, going from fire to light, another good thing to have in your everyday carry is a small, powerful flashlight. I have 3 of those as well. I've got one on my pistol, one in my bag, and one that's built into my cell phone charger. Now, I personally look for 3 things in an everyday carry flashlight. First of all, I want a bright beam, at least 100 lumens, because I may need to use it in a tactical situation. If I can use it to temporarily blind someone, so much the better. 2, the ability to widen or narrow the beam, so I've got a lot more versatility. And 3, and this is just a personal preference, I like for it to have the capacity to take standard batteries, because in my experience, it's a lot easier to get a hold of a AA battery than it is to get a hold of a lithium CR123 battery. My current favorite is a 300 lumen Cree Ultrafire Mini. It takes one AA battery. It's only 3.5 inches long, so it'll fit in any pocket you have. It has a variable beam, and here is the best part. You can get one for under $5 on Amazon.
Now, let's make sure that people know that this $5 flashlight is not going to be the same as Sean's $80 flashlight that he just got for Christmas.
Oh, absolutely not. If you pay for a really badass flashlight, you're going to get a badass beam. But this is blue-collar prepping, not white-collar prepping.
Right.
You know, remember, what's the nature of dark? There's no dark that is so dark that even the light of one candle brightens it up, right? How's that? What's the parable? So any light is good light. What's the best knife to have? You know, the knife you have.
Right.
What's the best flashlight to have with you when you need a flashlight? The flashlight you have with you.
Exactly.
And $5 is $5.
Yeah, for $5, you can put one in every room in the house and one in every seat in your car.
Yeah. And if you happen to lose it or if it gets confiscated, you're not going to really sweat it. Quantity has a quality all its own.
Da, comrade.
So there you go. Carry the tools for heat and light, and you'll never be cold and in the dark.
All right, Aaron, it was good to talk to you. See you again next week.
See you next week.
If you'd like to read more from Erin, check out her blog, lurkingrhythmically.blogspot.com. Felons behaving badly. Greensboro police charge man who accidentally shot himself. That seems awful harsh.
Like, don't you think he suffered enough by shooting himself?
Dateline Greensboro. Police charged a Greensboro man today with discharging a weapon into an occupied property after he accidentally shot himself.
Wait a second.
They charged him with like a drive-by?
Yeah, I don't think that's what that law was meant for.
Suspect 25 of 302H Apache Street.
Stop by and say hi.
Reported on December 26th that someone else shot him in a robbery attempt, police said. Police responded on December 26th to a local hospital for a walk-in gunshot victim, police said in a news release. At that time, suspect told police he was in his car at the Family Dollar at 2101 Randleman Road, and a man wearing a ski mask approached him and tried to rob him. When he tried to drive off, the suspect shot him, he told the police. Investigators later learned that suspect shot himself while trying to buy a firearm from somebody he would not identify, police said. Suspect faces the following charges: discharging a firearm into an occupied property, possession of a firearm by a felon, second-degree trespass, and resist, delay, or obstruct officer. Suspect remains in the Guilford County Jail. His bail is $3,500.
Wait, second-degree trespass?
Second-degree trespass.
Was he... I thought he was in his... okay.
Well, he apparently wasn't in his own car when somebody
guess.
shot him. He was somewhere else.
Huh.
It would be very interesting to hear all of the details to this story.
Oh, you know what? I bet it was. I bet he was in his car at the Family Dollar, accidentally shot himself. The Family Dollar is pressing charges because he was doing something.
I don't think so.
No?
I think what he was doing was he was someplace he should not have been, trying to buy a gun, which he should not have been doing, from a person who probably also should not have been carrying a gun.
Right.
And then he put his booger hook someplace where it shouldn't have gone.
Right.
And physics took over from there. So let's take a closer look at this guy. Larceny, 52106, misdemeanor, class 1. Simple assault affray, 52106, same day, misdemeanor, class 2. Common law robbery attempted, 10/19/2006, felon, class H. Common law robbery, 11/10/2007, felon, class G. Trespass, 4/29/13, misdemeanor, class 3. Second degree trespass times 1, 2, 3, 4. 5/7/13, 7/11/13, 8/23/13, 2/27/14. I'm seeing a pattern here.
Yeah.
All misdemeanor class 3. And drug paraphernalia used possess 4/18/2014, misdemeanor class 1.
So maybe they just charged him with second degree trespass out of habit.
You know, it may have been.
It's like, oh, well, here's your frequent flyer program.
Yeah. Oh, it's you again. Second degree trespass. My pen just sort of goes there. So I guess the moral of this story is don't shoot yourself and then try to pass it off.
Yeah. So I actually know a woman whose first husband did something like that. He shot himself in the leg with a Tech 9. How do you do that? And then tried to say that it was he was shot in a robbery. He actually had her fooled too. The reason why he lied to the cops is because he didn't want to get in trouble with her.
Oh, there's a good plan.
Yeah. That ended up not working out for him anyway.
No. Trust me when I tell you, with your wife, honesty is the best policy.
You're not going to be able to keep the lie going forever.
No, she's going to figure it out. And not only are you going to be caught in a lie, you're going to look like a stupid idiot.
Yes.
So this week, Nikki talks about the NSA and the Snowden spy scandal in Foreign Policy for Grownups. So, Nikki, in between spying on all our phone calls and data mining everything that we do, does the NSA actually do anything worthwhile?
Yes, it actually does. And if you remember, back in 2013, there was this guy named Edward Snowden who fed a bunch of NSA data and secrets to the press. I'm not going to rehash what Snowden did, other than to say it took months and months and months of resources and man-hours to assess the damage that he did to our national security. Snowden was not a hero, no matter how much libertarians will try to tell you he was. And I'm convinced he didn't leak all that data because he was so concerned with the NSA spying on ordinary Americans. In fact, the NSA spying on ordinary Americans, quote unquote, is fairly small compared to everything else that the NSA does. And frankly, given the scarce resources across the intelligence community, I simply can't understand how anyone at NSA gives a crap about your Gadsden flag or about your phone call with Uncle Morty in which you tell him about your hatred for Congress, whatever. Okay, I'm sure there's some spying that goes on, and we get that. We know that. I'm not happy about it. But that said, the majority of the data that Snowden released wasn't about domestic spying, and it actually greatly hampered our intelligence gathering capabilities. He was a creep, plain and simple, and based on the means that he used to steal this information, I'm also convinced he was a foreign asset, not just a guy who was acting on, his pure little heart. As far as what the NSA does, no, it does not get itself involved in industrial espionage. No evidence has been shown to prove that claim. And frankly, the amount of data, the sheer amount, millions and millions of files that were released by Snowden make PFC Manning's leaks back in 2010 look like amateurs, okay? And much of it actually hindered our collection efforts against some really, really bad guys. We try to protect America from cyber attacks. That's really the NSA's first mission. And whether we like it or not, cyber is very, very real. It's a threat. Between the Chinese hackers stealing defense secrets and the Russians paying hackers to attack us, These are actual real threats to our national defense and to our infrastructure. But Snowden didn't care. He went ahead and released our collection efforts anyway, because out of the goodness of his little heart, he apparently decided that he was going to join the NSA specifically to steal data. You know, as far as what his revelations exposed, we had some new and very advanced collection capabilities. And those revelations actually allowed adversaries to effectively counteract our efforts. Everything from counterintel to counterterrorism to counterproliferation, force protection, for everybody, for our troops, for our allies, and also, you know, our efforts to combat TCOs, transnational criminal organizations. All of that has been impacted by these revelations. So I don't believe for a moment that he meant well. He wheedled some idiot, NSA nerd into giving him sensitive passwords in order for him to actually access classified information, and then he just did a massive data scrape and released it all to the press. I mean, seriously, he lied to everybody, not just about the level of access that he had as a contractor, but also about what he was able to do as a contractor at the agency. Most of that stuff really had very, very little to do with Americans' privacy concerns and everything to do with our ability to defend ourselves. And he didn't care how much of that he was releasing. You know, I can't imagine that in the 3 months that he was there and the millions of files that he stole, that he sat around reading all those files and said, well, maybe, I should release this, but not this. But what he actually said was, I'm giving all of this stuff to the press, and I trust them to use it responsibly. Please. He hindered our national defense, and we really should care about that.
How does the NSA counter cyber attacks on the United States? You said that's one of their major missions?
Yeah, sure. That's really what they do. They're our cyber defense. So, they look at different ways that hackers are trying to get into our systems. How these state-paid actors, some of them, are trying to access information, and they defend from that. How are they threatening our infrastructure? NSA employs thousands and thousands of cyber experts and mathematicians that go in and try to figure out these threats and try to defend against them and develop programs to defend against them, and also develop collection platforms to defend against these threats. All of that stuff was compromised by Snowden.
So why should the average American care that he gave up all of this information to the Russians and to the media?
Sure, Snowden's gone. Who cares, correct? Well, the taxpayer, from a taxpayer perspective, people should care about the countless man-hours and millions of dollars spent on examining what he's released, assessing the damage, trying to fix publicly our relationships. We've spent so much money and so much time, we're talking years, over a year, of our resources that could have been spent actually, dealing with national security threats, assessing what Snowden did and how much damage that he did. And also because the NSA, despite its warts and despite its misuse by the policymakers and politicians, is actually a terrific asset. It is absolutely vital to protect us. And what he did was just basically give our adversaries, those who threaten us, a means to go in and counteract what the NSA has been trying to do to protect our infrastructure, to protect our computer systems, to protect our banking sector, to protect all these different things. He gave them a key. He gave our adversaries a key to go in there and say, hey, NSA's got this program. Let's work on how to circumvent it or how to counteract it. Thanks, Snowden. Thanks a lot.
All right, Nikki. It was good to talk to you. See you again next week.
You bet. Take care.
Nikki blogs at thelibertyzone.com. Strange laws. Hey, so did you hear that one where Oklahoma's going to ban the wear of hoodies?
I know, that's completely unbelievable. It's outrageous.
Yeah, wasn't it you that said a little bit earlier that if something is completely unbelievable and outrageous, it's probably because it isn't true?
Yes.
Yeah, well, it isn't true.
This is my shocked face.
Yeah, so CNN. An Oklahoma lawmaker says people will not be fined $500 for wearing hooded sweatshirts in public, despite some interpretations of a proposed law concerning hoods and masks. It is already against the law in Oklahoma to wear a mask, hood, or covering that conceals the wearer's identity during the commission of a crime or for the purposes of harassment or intimidation. Republican State Senator Don Barrington's SB 13 would make it a crime to wear a, quote, robe, mask, or other disguise in public that would, quote, intentionally conceal the wearer's identity. Violators would face fines from $50 to $500. Since the bill was introduced in December, some have interpreted it to include hooded sweatshirts or hoodies.
Now, here comes the most important sentence in the whole article.
Media reports have also said that the bill includes hoodies, though it is not immediately clear from where this interpretation came.
CNN is basically saying these people are lying.
Yeah, I know where that interpretation came. Somebody took his hand and placed it deep within his own rectal cavity, grasped this opinion and pulled it out, and then convinced everybody of it, because we all know that nobody actually reads the law.
Right.
I mean, it's in black and freaking white.
Yes.
If that's not racist to say, the law, it's written down.
No kidding.
Read it. Oh, jeez. But Barrington points out that the word, quote, hoodie is not mentioned in the legislation, except for references to hoods in the first section. This bill is not designed to ban hoodies, but to prevent the wearing of masks or disguises in the commission of a crime, Barrington said in a statement.
Yeah, I know.
I know.
So
what do you say?
So basically what happened was somebody had hoodies on their mind. They saw Republican and hoods and ban, and they went, oh my gosh, he's trying to ban hoodies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Either that or trying to ban Robert Byrd from ever coming back to Oklahoma now that he's dead.
Well,
Oh, wait, was that a horrible thing to say?
No.
Hey, what a douche. What do you say about this? This is just weapons-grade horse manure that they were spreading all over the place like it was some kind of, gospel. Nobody bothered to read the law. The law said nothing whatsoever about hooded sweatshirts. It was, don't run around wearing a KKK mask and intimidating people.
Right.
Which actually, that part is already against the law.
Basically, where the ridicule should have come in is, why are you making something illegaler?
It actually, all it says is if you're in the commission of a crime, but see, what they're adding to this is a segment that says you can't wear something that's intended to
intentionally conceal the wearer's identity.
Yes, you're not allowed to wear something that intentionally conceals the wearer's identity, unless, of course, you happen to be wearing a Halloween costume or on a parade, or, it's so freaking cold you need to wear a ski mask.
Yeah, but hey.
I think there's a better solution. Carry a gun. If somebody shows up wearing a mask and tries to intimidate you,
shoot them.
Because those masks aren't bulletproof.
No.
Well, with the recent terror attack in Paris, Miguel has some thoughts on how we should prepare. Well, Miguel, we're starting to see video from the recent terrorist murders in Paris. What lessons can we learn from this?
It amazed me how fast those videos showed up online. Everybody's got a smartphone, and they got their cameras, but nobody had a freaking gun. Imagine instead of having a little camera aimed at these guys, you start, have a gun and start shooting at them. This kind of event is not your normal crime event. This is something, that designed to inflict the most casualties possible. And you cannot, just be, pulling out your hand over there with a little camera and record everything. You got to do something about it.
None of the people in these videos had any idea if they were going to be next.
Yeah.
And if they were going to be next, there was nothing they could do about it. Well, that's France. We don't have that problem here in the United States. In the United States, we can carry things that we can use to defend ourselves.
What we need to do is get in our heads that we need to carry all the time. We need to carry all the time with the most amount of bullets that we can carry. You have to have decent, reliable, full-size or medium-size firearm equivalent, say something between a Glock 19 and Glock 17, and have loaded spare magazines with you, and because you don't know the amount of rounds it's going to take. Nobody likes to be shot at. So if you start returning fire, they're going to duck. One thing that they think is going to look, and the second thing that's going to happen is whatever plan they had in their minds is going to go overboard. You have thrown a monkey wrench into the process.
Both of us have played the IDPA game, and we have both had the problem when the buzzer goes off, the plan goes out the window because we just forgot it.
Yeah.
Imagine how much more difficult the plan would be to execute if somebody's actually shooting at you at the time.
Exactly. That is a good example why we should carry. If we can, by our actions, save our lives and reduce the amount of casualties, I don't see anything bad with it.
What you're looking to do is you're looking to slow them down so that the people in the immediate area can take off running. Because guess what? If they can't see you, they can't hit you. And the people that are likely to get killed in that, they get in their cars, they take it, ankle express and start heading down the street. They're safe.
The Texas Tower shooting is the best example, and everybody keeps forgetting about it. I mean, he was loaded for bear. And it was a whole bunch of citizens with the 30-30 and the hunting rifles, and from a position of disadvantage because, they were at the bottom of the whole thing, just kept pouring lead until the police was able to get to the tower and take the guy out. Mm-hmm. It's the same principle. And he managed to have people wounded and killed, but it was not the numbers that could have been achieved by the kind of hardware he had.
Exactly.
Now, we're talking about it is, okay, we have the handgun, not necessarily the best solution, and so we may want to start thinking about carrying something a little bit more powerful, a little bit longer. The old principle of, the handgun is what you use to get to the long gun. But if you can get to it and you can engage these guys from afar, it's even much better.
That's true.
The concept of a truck gun, I mean, it might be as redneck as you want to be, but it is a valid concept.
Right, a little bit of safety tips here. AR-15s, shotguns have a floating firing pin. So don't leave them in the trunk of your car with a bullet in the chamber or with a shotgun shell in the chamber because, you bounce, the firing pin hits the primer, and you just set it off. So carry it with an empty chamber.
Oh, yeah. That's called cruiser ready. Masada, you made a comment once. It's more than one police car. They have the shotgun set in between the seats with the round in the chamber. They hit a bump and ended up with a sunroof.
Yep.
It doesn't have to be the latest and the bestest AR with all the bells and whistles. It could be good if you can afford going for a short barrel rifle or short barrel shotgun.
We're going to link to one of your posts where you make some suggestions on truck weapons, but all the hardware in the world is not very useful if you don't have the training.
You are absolutely right. And we need to get some basic training, basic gun sight taught by Colonel Cooper or by Tim Smith. No ninja rolls, no, falling from choppers, just basic handgun manipulation and shooting and accuracy and use of cover, use of different positions. It usually tends to be a 1 or 2 day class.
I've got a couple of suggestions on that one, just very quickly. For basic rifle shooting, and just for the fun of it, go take a 2-day weekend Appleseed class. You will not regret it. It's a lot of fun, and you will learn how to shoot a rifle pretty well. Many, many, many of our listeners are from North Carolina. If you're from North Carolina, go to the Range Complex, therangecomplex.com, formerly Tiger Swan. It's in the Fayetteville area. They trained me, the pistol shooting class that I took. They're a great place. If you can get to Gunsight Academy or to Thunder Ranch, both of those have a very, very high reputation. If you live in the middle of the country, go to Rangemaster at rangemaster.com. I've taken a short class with Tom Givens, and he's a great instructor. In the Atlanta and northwestern Georgia area, you want Rogers Shooting School. I would definitely like to go there.
Well, if you're in Central Florida, I will recommend my guy, my instructor, Randy Kane in Cumberland Tactics. And Cumberland Tactics will cover not only handgun, but rifle and shotgun. I took a class some years ago with Irv Lehman, who runs Cumberland Tactics, and on shotgun. It was one of the most fun things I've ever done. It showed me the power of a shotgun and also its limitations, which is important. It left me with a new appreciation and how useful it can be. But you need to get the info. You need to get the information in your head and, and process it with the gun in your hand. The training is required. It doesn't have to be some ninja stuff that we've seen in those stupid videos on YouTube, but get at least the basic. So get your gun, get your long gun, and get the training.
Right. We live in America. We don't live in France. We can carry guns, so why not? Get your gun, get some training, carry it all the time, and be ready. Thanks, Miguel. It was good to talk to you. See you again next week.
And see you next week. Thank you.
Get more Miguel Gonzalez daily at gunfreezone.net.
Man, all this stuff in Paris and Sydney and Ferguson definitely has me reprioritizing my 2015 firearm purchases. I was going to get an AR pistol, maybe get a 45 caliber suppressor, but now I think the first thing I'm going to buy is a truck gun. Because right now my truck gun is my Glock 23.
Yeah.
That's not going to quite cut it.
Yeah. I am really hoping that this fetish, this fad, whatever, for a single stack 9mm pistols goes away, because I just don't see the use for those guns. If you have to sneak into some place like James Bond and, they're going to pat you down for a gun along the way, then yeah, maybe you need to carry something that tiny. But you know what? I'm feeling undergunned with my 10+1 and my 13 round spare magazine for a total of 24 rounds on my 45. I would really like to have a Glock 19 with a spare magazine for a total of 31 rounds.
Now, I would like the listeners to know that you and I met Jennifer from In Jennifer's Head 4 years ago at the gun blogger shoot that Lucky Gunner put on.
Right.
And
should we describe her?
She's about 4'11". I don't know how tall do you think she is?
I think she's like 5'3".
She's very petite.
I think she's like however short she is, she's 5'6" in her heels.
Yeah, she's very petite.
And there's a famous picture of her 5'6" in her heels taking a shotgun class. She actually took a tactical shotgun class in high heels because, well, that's what she wears. So she figured, train like you fight, right?
So yeah,
we should also point out she doesn't have a weight.
Oh no,
she has a temperature.
Yes,
she's like 98.
She
99 degrees. She's tiny.
Yes,
I could pick her up and carry her away.
Carries an FN45 double stack.
Tactical.
I think it's like 17+1 and 2 spare magazines, and you cannot tell.
Yes, there's a very fun. I'll try to look it up and put it in the show notes. But she tells a funny story about how she was at a family reunion or something like that, and they're like, "Oh, Jennifer, don't you always carry a gun?" She's like, "I am." And they're like, "No, you're not." She's wearing like this filmy wrap sort of thing. She's wearing her girl clothes. Can we say that Jennifer is a rather attractive young lady?
Yes, I think that we can.
And she likes to dress nicely.
Yes.
She does not wear frumpy clothes.
No.
Yeah. And she's like, "Oh, I am." And she takes off her little filmy wrap and turns around, and there's this, she calls it the tactical toaster. It's a gigantic freaking brown gun.
Yes.
How do you not see this thing? But you can't tell. So you know what? Stop it with this little pocket gun fetish. Go and get a full size or, a Glock 19 or something along that size with enough ammunition that you can do more than pop a couple of rounds at somebody. Because watching the videos, dude, it would not have been hard to shoot that dude, one of those dudes in the face from where the video was taken. Remember the one where they shot the cop?
Yeah.
I mean, I could have shot the dude in the face from there.
So after the mall shooting in Omaha a couple of years ago, I started practicing with my carry gun at 50 yards, headshots at 50 yards. Not because, at 50 yards is going to be a typical self-defense situation, but at 50 yards, I will probably be able to engage, the 18-year-old with an AK-47 who just bought it or stole it.
Yeah.
And is trying to shoot up a mall.
It's not like they know what they're doing.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
These guys in Paris, they look like they know what they were doing, but even so, they were walking around like there was nothing that could possibly harm them. Right. We find out some of the cops aren't even armed in Paris. If they just don't feel like carrying a gun, they don't have to.
Now, that's ridiculous.
Well, I mean, they don't carry guns in a lot of cops, most cops in England don't carry guns. That's just the way they are. That's cool. But that was their view. There was nothing going to stop them. And watching the video, you know how wide angle the video lens, the lens on the video camera on your cell phone is? If that's how close they look through the wide angle lens on the cell phone, how close were they actually?
Yeah.
And you look at the wall that these guys were behind, those walls at that angle, they would have stopped bullets coming back at them. AK bullets would have had a heck of a time getting to people. So lean over, shoot one of them in the face. The other one's going to, now what is he going to do? Shoot at you?
Nope. He's going to run back to the car and get away.
Even if he does shoot at you, it's not like he's going to hurt you.
Right.
And if he tries climbing up the stairs, he's still got to get out the door. You can shoot him again. So yeah, get a full-size gun. So fun with headlines.
Fun with headlines. Speaking of ISIS.
Oh no, ISIS again?
Yes. So here's the headline. Group claiming to be ISIS group hijacks news station and city paper.
Oh my goodness, what country did this happen in?
This was in America.
Well, how come I haven't heard of this? They
Because,
hijacked the city paper?
Because they hijacked their Twitter accounts.
No, seriously.
No, seriously. The Twitter accounts and the website. They did, yeah. This should not even have been a thing. But I saw that, and it was on Fox News, so, we're equal opportunity offenders here, right? That was really dumb. That was clickbait. There's no reason I would have ever clicked that, except, I had, this vision of, crash override and acid burn from Hackers, that awful, 1994 movie with Angelina Jolie. You have no idea what I'm talking about.
No idea what you're talking about.
Okay, well, in the opening scene,
I'm still shaking my head over this. Their Twitter account got hacked, and
Yeah.
they probably wasn't ISIS. It was probably a couple of idiots in their freaking basement.
12-year-olds
we are
could do
ISIS. Yeah, Bob, that's pretty funny.
this.
Yeah, and see, somebody's gonna track down their IP address, and they are so gonna get a flashlight shined up their butt. They're gonna get the worst FBI probe they have ever even thought about. But we were just joking. It's not funny.
Yeah, it's not funny anymore.
Yeah.
No.
Speaking of things that aren't funny, it's not just theoretical when it comes to malware and hacks. Barron practices what he preaches in
Tech Tips, Tech Tips, Tech Tips, Tech Tips with the Barron.
So, Barron, you're always telling us that we need to be careful about this and careful about that and don't do this and don't do that. But it all sounds pretty, theoretical. But you actually ran into some of this stuff in the wild. Tell us what you saw.
A couple weeks ago, I was down visiting my mom. I was helping her with her iPad, and I went through and was setting some stuff up. As I was setting stuff up, I ended up looking at her email, and I noticed she got an email from a friend of hers. I knew who the friend was, so it was recognized, it was legitimate. But the title of it was Happy Holidays. And I went, okay. But then what was really interesting, and I'm like, Mom, I'm opening your email right now, was that there was an attachment. I didn't actually open the attachment. I merely just opened the email so I could find out what was in the attachment. And it ends up that it was a Word document. At this point, alarm bells are going off in my head.
Yeah, who sends people a Word document as an attachment for a holiday greeting?
Exactly. It's one of those things where, while yes, the person would be trusted, the email in the end was really unsolicited. My mom didn't know to expect the email. There was no business-related transaction associated with the email. There was no actual reason for the attachment, at which point alarm bells should be going off. And so I told my mom, I'm like, don't ever open that attachment. Don't.
Yeah, well, that's basically you get a Christmas present from a friend that has 17 stamps on the front and is leaking oil. Just because it's got your friend's name on it doesn't mean you open this possible letter bomb.
That's exactly right. Then this past weekend, I was again down visiting my mom in Auburn, and Auburn has rolled out a public access Wi-Fi. Now, I don't trust public access Wi-Fi, and I want you all to repeat after me. I will never use public open Wi-Fi under penalty of my computer being compromised, my data being stolen, and probable losses to my bank account. Public access Wi-Fi is dangerous. I merely connected just because I felt like playing around with it and seeing how screwed up it was. What I wasn't expecting was the entire Charlie Foxtrot that it ended up being. Before I connected, I disabled just about every last service that I cared about. I did forget to disconnect two things, Google Drive and my own cloud. This was beneficial because it clued me into what was about to happen. So I disconnect from my phone, connect to the public access Wi-Fi. Public access Wi-Fi comes up and gives me a disclaimer, and the disclaimer is basically, this is public access Wi-Fi. Anything you do on it should be encrypted because it is public. Anyone can see anything going across it. What ends up happening is I read through it and I'm like, okay, yes, they're actually encouraging good security practices. Use SSL. Use things to make sure that people observing can't see what's going on. At which point I click accept, and then I watch the icon for my own cloud immediately switch to a gigantic red X. I then notice Google Drive has now indicated that it is no longer connecting to the internet. I immediately open a web browser and I go, well, let's see if I can even hit my own cloud instance. So I type in the URL, and all of a sudden, Google Chrome gives me the red screen of death. And for those of you who are not familiar with the red screen of death, the red screen of death is what happens when you try to connect to a website with a bad SSL certificate. It is basically a glaring warning that something has gone horribly, horribly wrong, and go away right now. It makes it actually very difficult to go to a website with a bad SSL certificate. I start digging into the details of the SSL certificate. It is not the SSL certificate for my website.
You were saying this is a man-in-the-middle attack. They say, oh, we'll just issue you this SSL certificate that says, yeah, everything's cool, when really they're just sitting in the middle sucking up all your data.
That's right.
Google Chrome will tell you this.
Google Chrome will tell you this.
Oh, that's handy.
Yes, it is very handy, and it's one of those reasons why Google Chrome, when it pops up the red window and it's like, warning, this website's security authenticity cannot be validated. Yes, take that as serious, because it is. It's not a joke. It's one of those things that they created the warning for a reason. It is downright serious.
Do you have any idea who was pulling this stunt? Was it the city of Auburn itself, or did somebody hack them and were using the public Wi-Fi to try to steal people's data?
I am not sure immediately offhand whether it was the company that configured the network for Auburn completely, or if somebody hacked the wireless access points and was using it to basically start siphoning off data as it went by. It could be either way, because GoGo, who does in-flight wireless access, recently got busted doing the same thing with YouTube.
Yeah, I read that article. That we'll have that in the show notes. That's a must read. Check out the show notes and read this article about fake certificates, and it explains why they were doing what they were doing, but also the serious side effects of what they were doing.
Yep, and then at the same time, there's another one in the show notes, which is on the NSA and VPNs and some other things that were going on, and this is actually what scared me when I saw it. What the article is talking about is that you can compromise security in the middle in such a form that the NSA had actually gone out and started compromising known vulnerabilities and wireless access points, and then using that to siphon off keys for actual secure systems. They were using it as a man-in-the-middle attack to compromise known good methods. That's scary. That is unbelievably scary, because what it was relying on was a violation of trust within the chain.
But hey, all we've got to do is what everybody's favorite pop astronomer says, we just make some unhackable systems.
There is no such thing. As I tell anyone if I get brought in on a security audit, you don't plan to make an impenetrable system. Every last bit of security is merely buying you time. It is buying you the time to find the attacker and so that you can deal with them. And so the question isn't, can you stop an attacker? It's, can you find them, recognize them, and deal with them before they actually really cause damage?
All right, Barron, it was good to talk to you. See you again next week.
See you next week, Sean.
Barron still blogs at the-minuteman.org.
Yeah, so Barron was talking about the man-in-the-middle attacks. So my employer, I work for a very large company, and they replaced their proxy servers. So what a proxy server is when you plug into the corporate network, all your internet traffic goes to this proxy server first, and then it goes out. Well, I learned about a week after they put these new proxies in that they were doing this massive man-in-the-middle attack against every single thing that you go to. And it was just happenstance that I figured it out. So I don't do any online banking at work either.
One of the things that Barron talked about was that if you issue a root certificate to the individual computer, because they own it, they can put a root certificate on it. The root certificate in the computer will then sign all the certificates, and even Google Chrome has no idea that they have just been jacked.
Yeah, the way that I got alerted to this was I was visiting my own site with SSL, so not the blog, but a different one. And I was using Firefox for some reason. And Firefox was like, hey, so we looked and your computer is reporting that this is the certificate, but our servers, when we visit that site, say that this is the certificate. There might be a problem here.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just, beware of that, guys.
Cool.
So the NRA convention is coming to Nashville
Hey, don't you live in Nashville?
I do live just outside of Nashville. I don't pay the taxes for Nashville, so I didn't pay for the $1 billion convention center that it's going to be in.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
$1 billion?
Yeah, it was like $1 billion.
Oh, wow. Holy crap.
And they finance it over 50 years, so it's going to be like,
$10
billion when they're done with it. But hey, they had to compete with, who did they have to? Nobody. Anyway, so
You might go to Memphis by mistake.
Nobody goes to Memphis by mistake.
No, I disagree. Everyone goes to Memphis by mistake.
Oh, if you go to Memphis, make sure to carry extra magazines.
Speaking of not having a pocket nine.
No kidding. All right, so you're going to be here, and I'm going to be here, and a couple of other of the guys on the crew are going to come, we think. So if you guys want to meet up, if you listeners want to meet up with us, just let us know.
Yeah.
We'll be there as media. So, I'll be here all week.
I'm bringing Dices.
Yeah, that's
going to finally get the dogs together.
Yeah. We'll have to put some videos up on YouTube of them running around like an idiot in the backyard.
Yeah. Well, with the recent accidental shooting of a mother by her toddler in a Walmart, Weird takes note of the gleeful blood dancing conducted by the anti-gunners in This Week in Anti-Gun Nuttery. All right, Weird, what do you got for us this week?
So the anti-gunners are going absolutely nuts on this poor woman who was shot by her son in Walmart. Now, first up, I gotta offer my condolences to the family. This is a tragic story. But also, I'd like to talk a little bit about how she was carrying that gun and some appropriate solutions for that. She had a gun in a purse that was designed for concealed carry, so that's awesome.
Yeah, so much for all those idiots who said, oh, she was probably just throwing it in the purse with no holster on it.
Yep, no, it sounds like, yes, she was very, very smart about all of that. Except for several accounts that I've heard, the purse was sitting in the shopping cart, not on her person. I don't like off-body carry, but if you're going to do it, essentially carry off-body like you're carrying on-body. It should be on you at all times and in your control.
That makes sense.
So let's get down into some of the articles. I found this one from a place called Liberal America. And actually, despite its name, it was actually quite reasonable overall. Let's dissect this a little bit. It is this comfort around guns that killed Veronica Rutledge. The attitude of gun advocates who carry guns each day has become so nonchalant, lackadaisical, that it invites tragedy. She probably kept hazardous chemicals and choking hazards out of the reach of her child. But surrounded by the gun culture in Idaho, she failed to take reasonable precautions to keep her loaded gun away from that child. And I gotta say, I think this is a little bit obtuse, but it's not unreasonable.
You and I would say reasonable would be for her to have the purse on her shoulder and away from her child. Reasonable for this tool, though, seems like no gun at all.
It doesn't sound like anything was nonchalant or lackadaisical. She had a special purse for it and all of that, and sounds like it was a very reasonable gun owner. And so it's really not being lackadaisical or nonchalant about the gun, but really just kind of things like off-body carry are still relatively new to the carry world. But you know what? I'm not here to talk about reasonable articles.
Let's get into some more interesting ones.
Yeah, so here's from the Brady campaign. They start off, "Our hearts are with the grieving family and friends of Veronica Rutledge."
Yeah, no, they're not. When this story broke, you know exactly what happened. They sat there and went, ah ha ha, yay, another dead body, and this time it's a dead body we can really use. It's a mother. You know they were happy about this.
Oh yeah. Every day as parents, we make rational choices regarding our family's safety. We buckle our children in seatbelts, we make them wear bicycle helmets, and teach them to look both ways when crossing the street. But when it comes to gun safety, many parents do not take the same logical approach. Many parents bring a gun into the home legally with no intention of doing harm. Many think that they're doing their family service by offering protection. Yet these guns cause the majority of gun deaths and injuries. Tragedies could be avoided if parents would only take simple steps to ensure that these guns are not accessible to their children. If we don't start doing something about children's access to guns, not only are these tragedies likely to continue, so will the hundreds of suicides and unintentional shootings that take place in homes across the country each year.
Okay, that is a great big steaming pile of you-know-what.
Oh, yeah.
Going backwards, we both know, and you covered it, suicides among teens with firearms, extraordinarily rare. Amongst children, even rarer. So the suicide, complete red herring. Unintentional shootings, you said it pretty much the best. They just don't happen. It's so rare that it makes national news.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Brady campaign later on in that same press release said, a gun in the home is a significant factor for homicide, suicide, and unintentional shootings, according to the Brady Center's recent report, The Truth About Kids and Guns, which shows that 1 out of 3 homes with children has guns, many left unlocked or loaded.
Hold on a second, Weird. Is your gun loaded?
Some of them, yeah.
Oh my God. And you have a child in the house.
I do.
Because what the heck uses an unloaded gun?
Mm-hmm. Now, I found a Guardian article. They cite some interesting statistics. According to federal data from the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, an average of 62 children aged 14 and under died each year in unintentional shootings between 2007 and 2011. A 2013 New York Times investigation found that accidental shootings occurred roughly twice as often as the records indicate.
We haven't covered it here on the podcast, but we've seen exactly how that happens. There are several that weren't treated as accidents to begin with. They were prosecuted as crimes, and then it was determined they were accidents later.
Even if it's a 2x underreporting, according to the New York Times, which is pure speculation, but even that only puts it up to 124.
In a country that has 300 million people.
Yeah, so that's an extraordinarily small number. Brady's report states that in Idaho, an estimated percent of loaded and unlocked household firearms among adults with a child under 18 is 5.2%. The report adds that Idaho, the estimated number of children 0 to 17 living with unlocked and loaded firearms, is 17,030. That's a pretty good sized number, and that's just for the state of Idaho. Yet we're dealing with a double digits or a low triple digits number.
There were 2 unlocked loaded firearms in my house as I was growing up. I knew where they were. If somebody broke into the house, either myself or my little brother was going to get their hands on this gun and shoot them with it.
Also, we got to remember that this whole safe storage culture is relatively new. I mean, it wasn't until the 90s that trigger locks and locking all your guns up sort of thing was even in vogue. I mean, growing up in Maine, the only people I knew that had a gun safe were people that had a really serious collection.
Yeah, seriously.
Most people that had a gun just tucked in a closet or thrown in a nightstand and all of that, and there really isn't any problems with that.
We're not talking like huge numbers of people getting hurt here. Everyone's a tragedy, but let's not act like it's a giant freaking problem.
So really, I mean, every accidental death and injury is tragic, and we should work to reduce that number.
But we should be honest here. The problem here for them is not the accidental deaths. The problem here for them is that there are guns. They don't like guns. They want to do everything they can to get rid of guns, and this is just one more avenue that they can push.
That's really their whole goal.
All right, Weird. It was good to talk to you. I'll see you again next week.
See you next week, Sean.
In addition to appearing here, Weird is a regular host at The Squirrel Report and blogs at weirdworld.com. That's WEERD world.com. Stuff that grinds my gears. People who think that electricity, water, and sewer work on the TFM principle. You familiar with the TFM principle?
No. What is the TFM principle?
Well, the T stands for total, and the M stands for magic, and the F stands what F always stands for.
Ah, yes. Well, electricity comes from the wall.
Yeah.
So does water. And sewer
just sort of goes to the floor.
Away from the wall.
Yeah. No, it doesn't work that way. Just the same way that the internet is not a big dump truck, neither is the electrical system. Just because you flip the switch doesn't mean necessarily the lights are coming on. And they do come from somewhere. And the water doesn't magically appear. Those big water towers? Yeah, they cost money. And they put water in them. It's kind of interesting in this area, because we're subject to hurricanes and therefore power outages. We're on City of Raleigh water, and City of Raleigh just went all out on making sure that they can shut down power here for weeks at a time, and you're going to be able to get drinking water and be able to flush the poo away to your heart's content. You won't have electricity, but you won't be buried in your own waste.
That's good. That's good.
And nor will you die of thirst. Well, the entire waste treatment plant has its own electrical system. They got gen sets in all the pumping stations. They've got gen sets to pump clean water from wherever they get it to your whatever local water tower. And you know what? Just because the electricity goes out doesn't mean gravity stops working.
Right.
So pump it up to the water tower, boom, you're set. So that's nice. But, these things don't work all the time. Electricity will go out. We found out last night. We had a power outage here, and, you have to be ready. And so that's one of the reasons that Aaron, other than Aaron being awesome, but that's one of the reasons that Aaron's on this podcast, because prepping is really important. You don't have to prep for the doomsday scenario, but you do have to prep for the day that the power goes out. Now what are you going to do? Our next door neighbor has 3 kids. One of them's a toddler, and it was 29 degrees last night. And, we're not Wisconsin, so we're not, our houses aren't made for that. We have to have the heat running or it's just going to get horrendous in here.
Right.
Well, he packed all his kids up and had to go to the mother-in-law's house because no power.
We had a flood here about 5 years ago, and I found out that Nashville has 2 water treatment plants, and only 2 of them. And one of them ended up being underwater.
Yeah, wow.
And the other one came about 6 inches away via sandbags from being underwater as well. Boy, we were watching that very, very closely.
Yeah.
Because if we had been watching the television when that thing busted, we were getting in the car and going to Memphis or Mississippi or something.
Yeah.
We were getting away from Nashville because that's not something that they could repair overnight.
Yeah, that was going to be Thunderdome.
Yes.
The thing that bugs me about this more than anything else, electricity, water, and sewer, is the guys that take care of your electricity, water, and sewer. These are not people you are ordinarily going to hold out as high status people. These are not the sort of people that get celebrated. They're not the sort of people who get medals, and, in a lot of cases, they get treated like crap.
Yeah, they work for a living.
Because they work for a living and they work with crap.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, with crap. Spare a moment in your day to think about those mostly men who make sure your electricity works, your water and your sewer work, because, there's enough of that sort of stuff in this world. You don't want it sticking around. You want your sewer to keep working.
Absolutely.
So what's going on with you this week, Adam?
So this is very much white collar problems.
First world problems.
First world problems. Lunchtime meetings with no lunch. In my capacity at work, I'm in a lot of meetings, and this was said to me by a project manager. Now, the project managers are usually the ones that schedule all the meetings. I scheduled the meeting from 11:30 to 12:30 because that's the only time that everyone had open on their calendar.
Because they were going to be
everybody
at lunch
was going to eat. Yeah. So don't do that. I mean,
now if you're going to bring food.
Yes. So that is now the standard response to anybody who schedules anything between 11 and 1. For me and my whole team, we started doing this. So somebody sends you, an 11 to 12. Oh, good. What's for lunch? Nothing. Declined.
Yeah, you're right. It is kind of first world problems, but
yeah.
But man, how are you so inconsiderate that you just say, I'm just gonna schedule your lunch for you and not bring you food?
Yeah. And I get hangry. So and I'm up pretty early, so I eat breakfast at like 5:30 in the morning. 11 o'clock rolls around, I'm ready to gnaw my thumb off.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you're going to schedule a meeting at 11 to 1:30, that's happened to me before, and you don't have lunch, I'm going to be not pleasant in that meeting.
Well, that's our show for the week. Thanks again to Rob Allen for our music, and thank you for listening to the GunBlog VarietyCast. Constructive criticism can be sent to Sean at SeanSorrentino.com and hate mail to WizardPC at GunsCarsTech.com. Show notes can be found at GunBlogVarietyCast.com/episode 21.
And let's see. The Brady campaign reports that the Brady's report states that
Start again.
All right.
Another good thing to have in your everyday carry is a small, powerful flashlight. I have 3 of those as well. I've got one on my pistol, one in my bag, and one that's built into my cell phone charger.
But Aaron, if you've got a light on your pistol, that means everybody will know where you are and they'll shoot at you.
Tactical advantage. You're going to give away your position.
No, the proper answer to that is damn right they're going to know where I am.
The muzzle flash is going to give off my position.
No, they're going to hear, get the fuck out of my house. I got a gun. I'll shoot your ass.
Right. Is that going to be cut, or do I really need to have a response for that?
No, just keep going.
Okay.
Police responded on December 26th to a local hospital for a walk-in gunshot victim. Police responded on December 26th to a local hospital for a walk-in gunshot victim. Police. God, I screwed that up again.
It's a hard sentence.
I know it is. Who wrote this? I should make them read it after they write. Stand in front of the desk and read that. This sucks. Police responded on December 26th to a local hospital for a walk-in gunshot victim, police said in a news release.